Hi, it's Lerald, and we've been spending more time testing classes on the WoW Midnight Alpha. The tank I've been playing most recently is Protection Warrior, personal fave, and that's what this video is going to be about. First things first, is the class better or worse? It's already the best all-around tank in the war within Season 3, so it's hard to go up from there, but I think depending on the setup, it feels like it might be taking another step up, or another step down. It really does depend on how you set it up. So let's get into it, but first be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join our Discord as well, we're over 1,300 members and still growing, so come join our awesome community. Alright, so I'm going to start with my thoughts and an overview for the state of the class. When I first read what they had planned, I liked it. I was vibing. Minor changes, small buffs, sounds good. Prot Warrior's already near perfect right now, no need to screw up a good thing. Then I played it, and my first reaction was not great. I felt nerfed, I felt slower, less rage, all that stuff that you hate. So I changed some things around and suddenly I felt way stronger. I think I might like the class now more on the alpha than I do on retail. I didn't think that was possible. So in Blizzard's initial post about Protection Warriors, they pretty much said they felt they'd already done a good job with the class in the patch 11.2 redesign, which is absolutely true, and that they didn't need to do a lot with it heading into Midnight. That may be true as well. It's not a great sales pitch, but they have sneakily made some pretty big changes nonetheless. Many of the changes were good, they're buffs to an already amazing spec, but there are some weird changes in here too. They're lowering rage generation, they're reintroducing some 20-year-old jank for no reason, they're also removing one of the most beloved talents in the entire tree. But then they're also buffing damage potential with execute by a lot, and they're throwing in some awesome group utility. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. At the same time, they haven't done anything to reduce the number of keybinds and cooldowns that Warrior has available. This isn't a bad thing if you're an experienced player with nimble fingers and an MMO mouse, but it absolutely goes against their previously stated goal of simplifying classes and streamlining combat. Most other classes have had their keybind load reduced. Prot Warriors is arguably going up. Alright, so with all that being said, let's take a look at a training dummy here and talk a little bit about the rotation and how it's changed. And it kinda hasn't. You still have Shield Slam, you still have Thunderclap, you still have Revenge as an offensive rage spender, you still have Execute for the execute range, you still have Ignore Pain and Shield Block as your two defensive rage consumers. A lot of that stuff is still the same. Shield Charge is still there, Champion Spear is now here instead of Thunderous Roar, and other than that, most everything is still pretty much the same as it was in terms of your offensive cooldowns and defensive cooldowns. Now, in the talent tree, there are a lot of changes, especially over in the warrior class tree section. There's really a lot going on here, and some of this is quite interesting. So, one of the new talents here is Resonant Voice, which makes all of your shouts last 20% longer. This means all of them, maybe not Battle Shout, no, literally even Battle Shout, and now lasts 72 minutes. Who cares? But that means Demo Shout now lasts 9.5 seconds instead of 8. It means Rallying Cry lasts 12 seconds instead of 10. All of these things that you might kind of take for granted, they now last just a little bit longer. And this actually has some pretty good benefits. There's another capstone talent here, Battlefield Commander, that also buffs your shouts, giving you 3% increased attack power with Battle Shout, which is great. You're going to want to take this. And then you also get some great utility as well. You get move speed for you and all your allies, and Leech also when you rally and cry. So you can see, I'm moving 30% faster. Honestly, not bad. You also get an increase to the radius of Piercing Howl or Berserker Shout. You get 15% or 15 seconds of cooldown reduction on Intimidating Shout, so that's another potential AoE crowd control tool. And also, they've made a change to Piercing Howl, which now makes it into a move speed skill for your group as well. It's not just an AoE slow, which isn't really all that useful. It's now also 30% move speed for close to 5 seconds, as long as you're taking Resonant Voice, which you pretty much always are. So you now have two different battle shout, whatever, move speed shouts that you could throw at your party and give everybody a small burst of move speed. This is kind of mostly useful for yourself when it comes to Piercing Howl. I don't think I'm going to be, required to cast Piercing Howl at a specific moment in a Mythic Plus fight or in a raid fight for 4 seconds, 5 seconds of move speed for the group. But if you need to get out of something, you're actually giving people a little bit of, move speed when they probably need to get out of it as well. Now, one thing I don't really love is that Blood and Thunder and Barbaric Training, both of which are pretty good talents, Thunderclap affecting enemies with Rend, this is great. Automatic, have to have this as Prot. and Barbaric Training giving you more revenge damage and crit damage, rather, with revenge. These are both good talents. The issue here is that they end in dead ends. They don't connect to the talent below them. This feels like a mistake. You are effectively required to take Resonant Voice in order to get out here and take Wild Strikes, which gives you haste and potential auto attack speed increase. Pretty good talent. And again, you have to take Concussive Blows, this pummel cooldown reduction, which isn't a bad bonus. Like, it's totally fine, but you have to take it in order to get Cruel Strikes. It's very limiting for the state of the tree. Some other things that have swapped around here are that Anger Management is now over in this left-hand tree, and Avatar is over in the right-hand tree. Last Stand is also in the left-hand tree, the Clash tree, and it's totally redesigned. It's no longer an active skill at all. It's now essentially a cheat death. When your health drops below 20%, you gain 30% max health, and heal yourself for that amount as well. It lasts for 15 seconds, and it's on a 4-minute cooldown. So this is great, but it also has a lot of overlap with Battle-Scarred Veteran. It effectively just steals Battle-Scarred Veteran's Thunder, but also that means Bolster is completely dead. Like, I have tried hitting a dummy and, or getting hit by a dummy while using Last Stand and Bolster together. They effectively just have no synergy. So this is just a dead talent completely, and I like the redesign to Last Stand. I actually think it's, kind of more usable in a lot of ways, but it's clearly just, okay, Last Stand is gone, and Bolster is effectively a talent that needs to be redesigned in its place. There are some other good talents in this left-hand tree as well. Wrecking Throw, which obviously just annihilates shields, is actually pretty easy to reach now. You're not having to stretch way out to the side to get to it. It's right in the middle of the bottom of the tree, so very easy to pick up. And there are shields scattered throughout dungeons now, so there's real potential for this to actually have some impact. That's great. It's been kind of an underrated, little bit of a gem here and there, but basically useless throughout most of the War Within, and it's nice to see this get, a bit more of a chance to shine, kind of give warriors something unique that it can do. Also, Retaliation is a new talent entirely. It just gives you a chance to reactively hit enemies, and the damage meter, the built-in damage meter, isn't working yet. I really can't tell if it's doing a lot of damage or not, but it stands as an alternative to Sidearm. Kind of seems like a better option if you're tanking, and, well, that's kind of the point of Prot Warrior, right? So, seems like a pretty good choice to me. Champion Spear's gotten a bit of a redesign as well. It now zaps enemies into its radius when you throw it down, and then also it only lasts for one snapback. If an enemy tries to run out of it multiple times, they will eventually be able to escape it while it's active. But it lasts for 6 seconds now as opposed to the base of 4, and there are no extra talents to take to modify it. You're not getting any sort of crit damage bonus while you're standing in it or anything like that. But you do effectively get an Ursol's Vortex kind of effect out of it, and I think that works reasonably well. The only real thing that kind of stinks here compared to Thunderous Roar is just it is a 90-second cooldown as opposed to 45 with talents, so you are kind of losing a little bit of cooldown availability. The biggest change in terms of rotational impact is the loss of Unstoppable Force. That's this talent over here that normally would sit underneath Avatar and give you that cooldown reduction and extra damage for Thunderclap while Avatar is active. This is actually a pretty big nerf to Mountain Thane's rotation because while Avatar has moved over here to the right-hand side of the tree, Unstoppable Force is just gone. It's just dead now. It doesn't exist anymore. So that feeling of Thunderclap being available every other global cooldown while Avatar is active is dead. This really hurts Mountain Thane's burst damage potential, hurts it in AoE. It really just does make Mountain Thane feel quite a lot weaker. So when I first logged in, I was really trying to force it and make it work with Mountain Thane. It didn't feel very good, and that was a big part of why. Switching over to Colossus, however, felt a lot better, and that is in part due to the new Apex talent, as well as some of the other talents that have been restructured in the right-hand tree. So Revenge, as I said, has been kind of given a 20-year rollback for some reason. The baseline design for Revenge now works more like it did in Vanilla WoW, where it hits a single target. Even though it swings in an AoE, it hits a single target, and then it can cleave to up to 2 nearby enemies. This works a lot like Maul does for Bear Druid, and then you could talent into Sweeping Revenge, which turns it entirely into an AoE. The issue here is that it reduces the damage. It makes it do about 1,000 damage with the current state of this character's gear, as opposed to 1,650 for the single target plus 2 target cleave version. So we're looking at a 30% drop off in damage. This is effectively just recreating the issue between Maul and Raze that's been a real thorn in the paw of Bear Druids for quite some time. Recently, Bear Druid finally got Raze buffed to be effectively just like a single target neutral skill, and then an AoE damage increase, you know, which, I mean, is the bare minimum it could be for it being a capstone talent. This isn't quite as expensive, it's in the top third of the tree, but still, it's very annoying to have a talent that if you take it, you actively lose single target damage. It just doesn't make sense for Revenge to work this way. And we can see that evidenced right here. I walk up and I hit a Revenge on this Kelp Fist. I'm gonna pull my combat log out here. Here we go. Revenge hits for 918. Okay, now I'm going to drop Sweeping Revenge here and drop out of combat. And then I'm going to go hit it with another Revenge, and it's going to do more than 918. Oh my god, it hit for 1452. That's very irritating, to lose damage by taking a talent. It makes no sense, it's just really not a great design. The fix for this feels pretty easy, right? Just follow the same design that Blizzard already worked through over the course of several years with Maul and Raze. Just make it so that this makes Revenge do the standard amount of damage to the single target, and then AoEs everything else. That's okay. Or, better yet, don't bother with this redesign of Revenge into being a multi-target cleave and an AoE. It's been an AoE for like 15 years or 14 years now, and that's actually been a great decision the whole time. No reason to revisit it at all. So now let's hit on some things that I think are working quite a lot better. There's a new talent in here. This isn't implemented yet, but it is an interesting concept. It's going to stand right next to Brutal Vitality as a choice node. Brutal Vitality is the same talent as it has been throughout the last few years of Prot Warrior. You do damage, and it either adds to your current Ignore Pain or adds up into a buff that will then apply to your next Ignore Pain. It's great. I Can Do This All Day is instead going to do the same thing, but with damage that you block. This has potential to be really, really awesome in AoE tanking, especially as you gear up more and you have a fair amount of mastery and your crit block chance is relatively high. This can be really, really good. This also means that Fueled by Violence is just standing alone as its own option here, and it's going to apply to both Rend and Deep Wounds damage, and it's over on the left-hand side. You absolutely have to take it. You gotta get down here and get Heavy Repercussions and Shield Charge and all of this, so this is just basically an increase in self-healing for Prot Warrior now, thanks to Fueled by Violence being here on its own. And, you know, I mean, not that I'm really getting beat up doing, like, baby dungeons and leveling quests, but I definitely felt that bleed damage healing. I never felt like I was losing health at all at any point, really. Another big change that's going on here is that Deep Wounds is no longer applied by Revenge, it's no longer applied by Devastate or Devastator, it is only applied by casting Execute. And it now does a lot more damage. It does effectively between 40 and 80% of an Execute's damage. If Execute's doing like 4,400, Deep Wounds is doing 1,800, and it doesn't scale its damage whether, you know, Execute does 4,400 at 40 rage, and then half that at 20 rage, and somewhere in between. Deep Wounds does the same damage regardless of whether you spent 20 or 40 rage on an Execute, so there's really a big multiplier on Execute's damage coming out of that Deep Wounds, which gives you an incentive to run things like Sudden Death or, you know, Heavy-Handed. It does apply to all 3 targets hit if you take Heavy-Handed. Obviously, Massacre's good for that as well. And then it applies a bunch of self-healing thanks to Fueled by Violence. So there's a lot more offensive and defensive potential out of Execute than there has been in the past for Prot Warrior. A lot of the stuff in the bottom section of the tree is still the same as it has been for a while now. For Prot Warrior, Shield Charge is still the same, Whirling Blade is still the same. Most of these talents are you know, as you would know them from the War Within Season 3, but Violent Outburst has gotten a bit of a change that I think is pretty much just a straight upgrade. It's a quality of life improvement at the very least. It now only works with Shield Slam. Now let's talk a little bit about the Apex talents for Prot Warrior, and they're all named Phalanx. I don't know why they chose to name all of the Apex talents the same thing every time, but they are. It always goes 1 point, 2 point, 1 point. And so the first bonus here is that it gives you Shield Slam crits, an extra wave of force, and just looking at the damage here, it's like 1350. That's about 60% of the damage of a Shield Slam. It's more damage than you get out of a Thunderclap. So whenever you crit with Shield Slam, you effectively get like 1.3 of a Thunderclap for free, or 60% of an extra shield slam. That's pretty good. The second bonus here gives you 20% more damage with that Phalanx wave, and also 20% more damage with Thunderclap. Cool. Then the third bonus makes it so that when shield block is active, which generally speaking, shield block's always active while you're tanking on a prop warrior, so this is basically just a permanent uptime bonus, 10% more damage with shield slam, and 20% crit chance with shield slam, which feeds back into Phalanx's whole thing of only proccing off of shield slam crits, but also synergizes very nicely with Colossus, which gets extra Colossal Might stacks whenever shield slam crits as well. This feeds into really the most fun aspect of Colossus, which it's cool to build up the Demolish buff, you know, getting essentially double damage out of Demolish by stacking Colossal Might up 10 times. That's fine. But getting the cooldown reduction every time you have, you know, once you've hit 10 stacks of Colossal Might, then getting cooldown reduction and getting a full 4 seconds on every crit shield slam feels great. It brings the cooldown of Demolish from 45 seconds to more like 30, 32 on average. And obviously that adds up to be a lot more damage, considering that Demolish not only does a lot more damage, but also gives you more damage on all the rest of your skills, and also more damage reduction from enemies, you know, based on having hit them with a 10-stack Demolish. So between these two, Phalanx and Dominance of the Colossus, you're going to have a lot of sort of rolling, not 100% uptime, but rolling damage reduction buffs happening. You're going to have a lot more damage procs happening out of Phalanx. So I think there's a lot of potential for Colossus to be kind of a big winner coming out of the Midnight Alpha so far. Now, with that being said, we don't know what the new talents for Colossus are. We can see the icons. They look like this. Neat. And the same goes for Mountain Thane. There may be real potential that these 3 new talents that are added for either of these 2 hero specs winds up changing the game, winds up saving Mountain Thane, or not really doing that much for Colossus, or doing a ton for Colossus. We simply don't know. I would love to see more execute synergy for Colossus, especially with there being more value coming in Deep Wounds. That could be really awesome. There's potential for like Arterial Bleed to be really, really good. You know, building up Colossal Might and then getting a ton of Rend and Deep Wounds damage out of that, with Deep Wounds being very strong. That could be pretty awesome. We just really don't know. We'll have to see what Blizzard does, and then we'll go from there. That pretty much covers it. Prot Warrior is in an interesting space here. Removing Unstoppable Force and splitting Revenge into a 3-target cleave or a full AoE seem like pretty bad changes. Mountain Thane is the more popular and more beloved spec of the 2 options available, and the new Apex talent heavily favors Colossus. But on the other hand, group utility is up, damage is up, self-healing is up, tankiness is still super high, the execute playstyle has never been stronger, and things look really good if you like the Colossus playstyle. If you don't, that may be cause for concern. There's basically no new synergy for the current Mountain Thane Thunderclap focused playstyle that's been popular in the War Within Season 3. There's still plenty of time in all that, you know, the whole Blizzard feedback cycle. Go pray for them to bring back Unstoppable Force, I guess. I'm gonna do that. This is the point of this video. Please bring back Unstoppable Force. It shouldn't go away. I know this is dumb. I do think Warrior often feels like the last tank to get buffs because it's the last one alphabetically. If it were named Attacker or Battler, I think it might be first in line. Maybe I'm crazy. Either way, it's still October, so it's spooky movie recommendation time once again, and this time we're going with a recommendation from Sunset, Final Destination. Great film, lots of fun. Check it out if you haven't already. Alright, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord and become part of our community. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us and help us make more WoW content, become a channel member or come boost our Discord. Thanks for watching. Bye.